You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in. Glad to have you with me. LSU-Arkansas. We officially turn the page now to the Battle of the Golden Boot. Saturday night up in Fayetteville, 6 p.m. Central is your kickoff time. Oh, this game. This game makes me incredibly nervous just about all the time. And I would imagine a lot of you listening feel the exact same way. If you don't, you must be new here, because this one is rarely, I'm not going to say never, but this one is rarely easy. And in the Sam Pittman era at Arkansas, it has never been easy. That's kind of what I want to do today. Talk about LSU-Arkansas, talk about the spot, talk about a potential letdown for LSU, because all the classic signs are there. And how does LSU avoid it? So, lend me your ear, if you please, and we'll get right into it. But first, I will remind you to share, to subscribe, to like the podcast. All of those things are greatly appreciated and very helpful. You can follow me on social media as well, on Twitter, X, at Musso Matthew, Facebook, find me on Instagram as well, at Matthew Musso1. Again, all of that greatly, greatly appreciated. Now, we can get into LSU-Arkansas. So, I don't know how many of you sports bet. My guess would be a good majority. I do. I very much enjoy it. I think it's exhilarating. And I'm not going to turn this into an entire, sports betting show. That's not what most of you are here for, and I get that. But one of my favorite angles to play, as I'm sure it is many of yours, is letdown spots. Specifically, court storm in college basketball, field storm in college football. Did this a lot last week because there were plenty of opportunities. And the results were a little bit mixed. Nothing's a sure thing in gambling, but it's one of those angles where you play it enough, you're going to come out on top. There were a lot of big emotional wins in week 6, right? Vandy over Alabama, Washington over Michigan. It wasn't Arkansas over Tennessee. It wasn't a big emotional win, but it was a big emotional loss, and that was Cal blowing that lead to Miami. So, the next week 7, played them all, except Arkansas, because they were on bye. I was actually really bummed to find out Arkansas was on bye. Cal was on the road at Pitt, played Pitt. Washington was on the road at Iowa, played Iowa. Vandy was on the road at Kentucky, played Kentucky. Now, when you look at the cover, it wasn't great. But when you look at the outcome, the only team that won the game was Vanderbilt, surprisingly. And that is a huge credit to Vanderbilt. That was the biggest potential letdown spot maybe ever. They were coming off the biggest win in your program history, going on the road to a Kentucky team that has started to look pretty strong, and Vandy controlled the football game. So, shout out to them. But those teams in the letdown spot went 1-2. Now you look at LSU and Oregon, by the way, this week. They're in that same spot. Both coming off huge emotional wins, field storm wins, and having to go on the road. And you're already seeing this, especially in LSU-Arkansas, where if you looked at the betting line in this game on Monday evening, LSU was favored by 4.5. Now on Wednesday morning, LSU is only a 2.5-point favorite. The line has moved 2 points in the favor of Arkansas. For that reason, it's the giant letdown spot for a team coming off a huge win, field storm, going on the road against a team coming off a bye. And yeah, it does. It makes me nervous. And Brian Kelly, at his Monday press conference, was kind of asked about the message to the team this week, and he talked about keeping perspective after the Ole Miss win.
Great night, big victory, and only our second with many more games in the SEC to come, so we have to keep it in perspective. And the perspective is now we've got to go on the road consecutive weeks against a very solid Arkansas team, a team that, as you know, historically over the past 4 years, we've played games where it's been decided by 3 points or less.
And that's the other part of this, and mentioned that right off the top. And we can go through plenty of examples, y'all, and I'm about to. But just in the Sam Pittman era, this game has always been decided by 3 points. Now, it's been 3 points in the way of LSU more often than not. The Tigers are 3-1 against Sam Pittman, but 27-24 against Arkansas in the COVID year. That was TJ Finley with the game-winning touchdown pass to Jeray Jenkins. You might remember that. Arkansas defeated LSU in overtime, 16-13 and 21. That was the Max Johnson, Garrett Nussmeier game. It was a 13-10 win in Fayetteville at 11 a.m., coming off a field storm against Alabama. It was a brutal game. That was the Harold Perkins game where Harold Perkins won the game by himself for LSU. It was bitterly cold. LSU couldn't move the ball, but Arkansas had like a high school kid playing quarterback, and it just didn't work. And LSU was able to squeak out that win and clinch their spot in Atlanta. And then last year in Baton Rouge, incredible game by Jaden Daniels, and the LSU defense really bowing their neck when they had to do it, and LSU escaped a shootout 34-31. That's been your games against Arkansas against Sam Pittman. So actually, really, right now is your buy spot. If you want to bet this game, I tell you right now is your spot to do it because the line's under 3. And this game has been decided by 3 either way the last 4 years with this matchup. But it goes deeper than that with LSU-Arkansas, doesn't it? This game has never been in a good spot for LSU. It's always been a tough spot. And then you factor in that Arkansas has always gotten up for this game more. It's just created the tight matchups that we've all come to expect more often than not. And look, yeah, there's been outliers. There's absolutely been outliers in there. But for a long time, this game was a sleepy one at 1:30. Excuse me, a sleepy one at 1:30 on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And you found yourselves in just massive battles there. I mean, 07, that was the triple overtime game. Black Friday, it was day after Thanksgiving, just yawn. The 13 game where Anthony Jennings hit Traven Durrell, same thing. Yawn. And then if it wasn't Black Friday, it was always after Bama. That was one of the big problems for part of the Les Miles era. 2014, LSU has Alabama beat in overtime. They gag it away. The next week, they have to go on the road to Fayetteville. It's 19 degrees. Leonard Fournette gets stopped on the first drive, and LSU just folded like origami. And Arkansas wins 17-0. That was like their first SEC win in 2 years. I know because I was at the damn game, and it was horrible. And just very, very cold. The people in Arkansas, though, really, really nice. Enjoyed the time up there with them. The fans were great. Didn't talk to many of them after the game. Didn't want to. The very next year, you have the big, emotional top 4 matchup against Alabama. Leonard Fournette, Derrick Henry. Bama runs you off the field. You have to go back home and play Arkansas. You're tired. You're beat up. You get run off your own home field. It's just a big letdown spot. We've seen LSU in it time and time again with Arkansas. And for that reason, yes, this game makes me incredibly nervous. Now, here's an interesting caveat maybe to throw into this game. Arkansas is also technically coming off of a huge win. I told you, I was bummed they were on bye because I wanted to fade them after their field storm victory over a top 5 Tennessee team. But that's the interesting caveat, is the bye week. And Sam Pittman was asked about this on Monday, if having the bye week after the big win helps avoid a letdown.
I believe that the open week, you'd get through all your back pats and you're the greatest thing ever walked, So I think the bye week does that. It also gets us some more players back. I said it a while back that, when you play in this league, you could basically say, okay, this is a Cotton Bowl this week. Okay, well, this is a Peach Bowl. It is. In this league, you have to get up every single game because there's really good opponents. And even we found out, even the ones that are unranked like us are pretty good. It's about the preparation. I think our kids, they understand that. And we had 4 really good days last week, and I think we will this week too. So I think it's more about the preparation. And
I very much agree with him. The bye week does give you time to get the backpacks, words out of the way and move on. Arkansas is a good team. The only scenario I can really relate this to LSU-wise, at least the first one that comes to mind, I should say, is that 2014 season where LSU had the big upset win over number 3 Ole Miss. They had the field storm. Then they went into their bye week and then played Alabama. And there was no letdown for LSU against Alabama. As we mentioned earlier, they had them beat. I'm expecting zero letdown from Arkansas in this football game. They've gotten it all out of their system. They want to taste that upset feeling again. They know they're good. Arkansas is a scrappy team. Like, think about where the narrative was around Arkansas coming into this year. It was going to be Sam Pittman's last year. Either he was going to get fired, or there was even some chatter that he might just ride off into the sunset. But the addition of Bobby Petrino as your offensive coordinator has immensely helped this team. You've seen Arkansas. Arkansas right now, y'all, they sit at 4-2, and you could argue they should be 6-0. On the road at Oklahoma State early in the year, Arkansas was in firm control of that football game. Firm control of that game. They were up by 2 touchdowns twice in the first half, and they had a double-digit lead in the second half as well. And they lost the game in double overtime. You had missed field goals. You had a lot of turnovers. The turnovers are ultimately what killed Arkansas in that game. But that was a winnable game for them on the road. Same thing against Texas A&M. That game always gets weird. We know that. We just come to expect it. But Arkansas had a fourth quarter lead in that ball game. But Taylor Green fumbled the ball 3 times in that game, and A&M squeaks it out. But that has always been kind of the deal with Sam Pittman at Arkansas. His team competes hard. They are a great underdog. They just don't ever close. They can't ever finish it off. They finished it off against Tennessee. That's going to give them confidence. Now, can they do it again versus LSU? This is a scrappy team that is much improved on offense and has a quarterback that can be very dynamic. Yes, he's banged up. Sam Pittman will meet with the media on the SEC Coaches Teleconference a little bit later on today and give the latest update on Taylor Green, and we'll pass that along to you when we have it. But, man, this game scares the hell out of me. I'm not telling you I think LSU is going to lose the game, but I am telling you it scares the hell out of me. And Sam Pittman on his Monday press conference, knowing his team, knowing how they play as an underdog, and knowing this series, said, yeah, this one's going to be tight.
I believe it's going to be a close game. They have a really good team, and so do we. So I think it'll come down to turnovers or whatever. We've got to play a smart game, physical game, because they're very, very physical. But we have high respect for them. But I think it'll be one hell of a game to come watch.
So how does LSU avoid a letdown? Well, I think playing it a little earlier in the year helps. So it's not going to be freezing up there. That's important. I think the game being at night, that's important. It's not 11 a.m., right? The last time LSU went up to Fayetteville was that game after the field storm against Alabama. It was 11 a.m. and it was snowing the night before. It was in November. So all those factors ancillary to what LSU could do on the field, I think that helps in the spot. And then, of course, there's the cliche of start fast. And I know it's so cliche and it's cringe. I get all that. But it does matter. Starting fast on the road is always important. You don't have the home crowd behind you like you did Saturday night, where you didn't get off to a great start offensively, but you got off to a great start defensively, and it kept the crowd in the football game. You don't have that. On the road, fast start is important. But one thing I would really look for in this game from LSU is the potential for long, sustained drives. Because that can suck the air out of the stadium. That can suck the air out of your opponent. It's a very demoralizing thing. And you've seen this LSU team do it a lot this season. I mean, we don't have to go through all the examples again. You know what they are. But we've seen LSU do it a lot this season. So, yes, long, sustained drives. LSU, time of possession, getting your opponent off schedule. All of those things help you to avoid the letdown. I like the fact that you have a veteran quarterback. I like the fact that you have some veterans on defense at each level. A lot of the guys on this team were here in 2022. They know the spot. They're familiar with it. Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Garrett Nussmeier, although he didn't play in the game, I know. Josh Williams, Greg Penn, Sage Ryan, Major Burns. Like, a lot of the guys that you're going to count on in this game were here two years ago when you went to Fayetteville and experienced this same thing. So you're going to have to lean on your leadership as well. Those guys have to be in the younger guys' ears and say, hey, we haven't won anything yet. And this is how this team plays us. Get ready for a four-quarter fight. LSU's preparation will be great. Brian Kelly has raved about that all year. How LSU, who is tired, who is beat up from a physical game, and who has heard how great they are all week, how they respond with their leadership when things get tough against Arkansas on Saturday, because they will get tough, will be the deciding factor on if LSU avoids the letdown. If LSU goes out there and plays their game, they'll be fine, because they are a better team than Arkansas. But any given Saturday, the best team doesn't always win. Ole Miss led for the entire game on Saturday and lost. Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Tennessee needed overtime to beat Florida. Rivalries are tricky, and Arkansas sees this as one. Leadership. You lean on your leadership if you're LSU. Just something to watch this week. All right, y'all smash the like button. Get subscribed if you have not already. Please share. Follow me on social media. All of that is greatly appreciated. And be here next time for more on LSU Daily.